I don't know about that voodoo shit, man. But Chris is definitely doing something. Get a nigga to walk up and down knowing he about to get capped, man.
Chris, he different. Chris got the power. You tell him to come and they gotta come.
Like the devil do with the damned.
The Wire is without a doubt one of the greatest shows to be created. It's one of those shows that you learn something new with each rewatch. But if there's one thing that remains consistent with each rewatch, is the fact that season 4 of The Wire went from a show about the game into a horror show, and it was all because of the Stanfield organization. When Marlo took the crown from Avon in season 3, that was the ushering of a new era. When Major Crimes took down the Barksdale organization, they thought things was gonna be better, but boy were they wrong. It got worse, to be exact. No more basketball games, no more Sunday morning truces, no more morality, just the Wild West. The old days was simply like Slim said, the old days. It was all thanks to one man and his organization.
Damn, y'all some Simple Five motherfuckers, ain't you?
The Stanfield organization moved like a unit. No slip-ups, no lack of accountability, and no weak links. They were practically the 96 Bulls of the crack game. Everyone feared them, and it was rightfully so. Each member showed no remorse or no sense of right or wrong. If you were a problem, you were getting taken care of. But how did they become so ruthless and militant? How did they become one of Satan's greatest armies? It was all because of the big three: Marlo, Chris, and Snoop. I'm not going to be doing any think pieces or analysis of the characters because there's already heavy hitters on YouTube that already do that. I'm simply just a fan of the game. In Menace to Society, Kane said O-Dog was America's worst nightmare. But me personally, I think Marlo was the real definition of America's worst nightmare. He was smart, cold and calculated, has no emotional ties to anyone or anything in this world, a multi-millionaire, and most importantly, he's black. I'm a firm believer that Marlo is the spawn of Satan and came out the womb with 10 bodies already to his name. His nickname is Black, not because of the color of his skin, but because that's how dark his heart is. This man's signature kill is putting 2 in the chest and 1 in the mouth. Do you know how diabolical that is?
That motherfucker's real.
This man clapped a security guard on a Sunday morning just for doing his job, and even told Chris that once he finally beats the OGs at the card game, that he would let them take them too. Remember how meticulous this man was when he clapped Prop Joe? This man was walking him through his death. It can't get more terrifying than that. Well, actually there is something more terrifying, but we'll get to that later. Marlo had the whole side of West Baltimore looking like Gotham because that's exactly how it felt. Creating menacing characters like Officer Walker, the dope fiend that was beating on Bubbles, or as I like to call him, the super crackhead, bitch ass Kennard, and many more. This is the same man that ruined Randy's life by having the streets label him as a snitch, thus creating another product of their environment. If Marlo is the devil, then his lieutenants are literal demons, because Chris and Snoop terrorized the whole generation if you ask me.
Let's do it.
If there was a list of the most dangerous duos in history, Chris and Snoop is making the top 5 list. I've never seen a duo so menacing in my life. Just the way they moved and acted separated them from the rest. Chris was a different breed. He was Marlo's #1 hitter and his #1 confidant. Every kill this man made, he took very serious, even if it was a pointless kill. This man cared about his job. Just the way he would talk to his victims so calm sends a shiver down your spine. It's almost like he wanted them to be at peace before going to the afterlife. But let's be honest, there's nothing peaceful about staring down the barrel of a Glock while the Grim Reaper is standing over you. This man was so terrifying that his nickname in the streets was the Zombie Master. Even had people thinking he was using voodoo because that was how he convinced people to walk down the alley with him before taking their life. Almost every character in The Wire has looked clean or dressed out of character at some point in the show. But Chris, on the other hand, has not. This man has always looked bummy and musty. And the crazy part is that it made him a better killer. The dirtier he looked, the more dangerous he was. When he beat Michael's stepfather with his bare hands, that was the first time we seen that Chris had somewhat of a heart in comparison to his counterparts. I mean, the nigga has a whole family at home waiting for him, which is crazy to me because this nigga was catching major bodies and then comes home to his wife and kids like he was working a regular 9 to 5. Then we have Snoop, the most lethal stud since Queen Latifah and Set It Off. Can I be honest with y'all? I actually think Snoop is a baddie low-key. Hear me out. Look up pictures of Snoop Pearson when she actually takes time in her appearance and tell me you wouldn't crack one time.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Anyway, Snoop was the Robin to Chris's Batman. She might not have been as calculated as Chris, but she was just as lethal. All she lived for was catching bodies. If she wasn't putting in work, it wasn't a good day for her. She never questioned an order and did exactly what she was told, which shows how menacing she really was. Even in the face of death, she had not a care in the world. Just chalked it up as being all part of the game. Hell, she was just playing herself. She didn't even have a script. Director yelled action and she was just free-flowing. The crazy part about these two is that they would take kids under their wing and make them into efficient killers and ruthless dealers. They would have military training sessions with them and have shootouts in the middle of the woods just so they can have in-field experience. When they took out Junebug and his whole family, that was a horror movie aftermath because the guns sounded like cannons, and the fact that they had no problem taking out women and kids shows how evil they truly are. Now in terms of impact, Chris and Snoop impacted a lot of people in real life. Chris and Snoop was so menacing that it made people even thinking about visiting Baltimore brush up on their knowledge of the city. If anyone ever asks you who Young Leak be or who's your favorite on the Big Fat Morning Show and you don't know the answer, you better get to running because you are about to get clapped. These niggas actually made me listen to an artist I've never heard of just out of fear alone. And especially if you a New York nigga, because you are public enemy #1 in the state of B-More. The fact that people are real life scared of Chris, Snoop, and Marlo shows you how great of a job they did on the show. They taught people valuable lessons. Get there early and scope areas out. Stay out the streets. You want it to be one way, but it's always going to be the other way. And most importantly, do not litter because you never know if a shotgun wielding maniac is watching you in the shadows. When it was revealed that Marlo was making people disappear by putting them in vacants, it was truly a horror experience because this is something that could very well be a real thing. But due to the fact that you don't know how many vacants they use, even though the tally was 24, I believe the total was higher than that just because of how Marlo was moving. Just the fact that most of the bodies in the vacants were probably people that posed no threat or was just somebody talking shit is outright cold. But Marlo wanted to wear the crown with fear and made sure that nobody thought twice about who he was as a man.
My name is my name.
Season 4 of The Wire is my personal favorite season because I was young at the time and that season was more directed towards my age group. Each character you could either relate to or knew someone that fitted that character or their experience. Everyone was a standout in their own, but Chris, Snoop, and Marlo definitely took the mantle in terms of standing out. If you are a fan of The Wire, let me know in the comments and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.